Hello, welcome back. Firstly, thank you very much for everybody's support for my first statement as a family doctor about the rollout of 5G and my stance. Tremendous feedback, thank you very much. This is going to be talking specifically about some research that came my way on May the 31st, just a few days ago. And it intrigued me because it was about the use of radio waves, radio wave therapy for cancer at levels that are not thermally active. In other words, the levels do not produce heat. And we have been told, and certainly the advisors of our government have been told, is that the non-thermal effects don't matter, and there are no effects on human tissue. Well, this paper refutes that, and I'll read you the article that I first read, and then we'll just delve a little bit more deeply into the article that has appeared on the e-biomedicine website published by the Lancet. So it's a pretty prestigious paper, so it's been peer reviewed. And also we'll cast a skeptical eye on it as well, because I think there's some healthy skepticism that we need, but I think you'll be intrigued. Radio wave therapy, so this is non-ionizing radiotherapy, if you like, proves effective against liver cancer cells. This is pretty important. And I'll read this because it's not very long, but I think it's important. A new targeted therapy using non-thermal radio waves has been shown to block the growth of liver cancer cells anywhere in the body without damaging healthy cells, according to a study conducted by scientists at Wake Forest School of Medicine, part of the Wake Forest Baptist Health. The study findings are published in the May the 31st online edition of the journal e-biomedicine, a Lancet publication. Lancet, the British medical journal that's been going for such a long time. Goes on. Using animal models, the research team headed by Boris Pash, MD, PhD, Chair of Cancer Biology and Director of the Comprehensive Cancer Centre at the said Wake Forest Baptist, delivered levels of radio frequencies to mice that had been injected with human cancer cells to replicate hepatocellular carcinoma, liver cancer, the most common type of liver cancer, called here HCC for short. Goes on. Oops. The radio frequencies were the same as those delivered to patients with HCC in Europe, where the device has been approved for use in people. And he is quoted, the lead researcher here. Our study showed that the radio frequency delivered was at low and safe levels. Pash said it was actually lower than those generated by holding a cell phone close to the ear. The research team utilized a device invented by Pash and Alexandra Warbolt of Therobionic something or other in Germany that delivered cancer-specific amplitude-modulated frequencies, electromagnetic fields, AM, RF, EMF. In other words, radio frequencies, but actually pulsed in a specific way, programmed specifically for liver cancer cells. These activated a calcium channel on the surface of the tumour cells, but not on the non-cancerous cells, Pash said. Very much like with ionizing radiation, you have to be very specific and very accurate that other normal cells aren't affected. It's the same with chemotherapy. This used to be called cytotoxic therapy, obviously. We discovered that a specific calcium channel, CAV3.2, was acting like an antenna for the radio signals that we've sent out, which allowed calcium to penetrate the liver cell, cancer cell membrane, go into the cell, triggering the cancer cell's growth arrest. Our team found it was the influx of calcium that stopped the growth of the liver cancer cells and shrunk, in some cases completely eliminated, the tumours. The effect was the same if the cancer had metastasized or spread to other parts of the body. The team's next step will be to identify the exact signalling cascade within the tumour cell that leads to the anti-cancer effects, Pash said. Now, a separate study by the same people using the same technology with breast cancer cells is also to be published, and I haven't seen that yet. The device, which is licensed to Therabionic Inc., formerly Therabionic LLC, and a couple of other company names, has been approved by the European notified body, the equivalent of the US Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. It is currently under review by the FDA. Pash and Bobolt hold stock in this company and the other company. Hence the skeptic would say, well, that's very important that this is going to be replicated by people who don't have a vested interest in the particular machines that are being used. But of course they've declared the conflict of interest, and I'll come into who else is involved in this in a minute. The treatment, which is approved for use in patients in Europe, consists of a handheld device about the size of a VHS tape cassette, if you remember those, that emits radio frequency via a spoon-shaped element that is placed on the patient's tongue. The treatment is administered at the patient's home 3 times a day for 1 hour. The frequencies used are specific for the patient's type of cancer, as identified through tumour biopsies and blood work. They've also discovered radio frequencies for 15 different types of cancer, all previously reported in a study published in 2009. So this research actually goes quite a way back. So this is interesting. This is something that actually refutes the thought that if you deliver these radio waves, radio frequencies below the intensity that heats the body, that they have no effect on the body. It tends to dispute that if this is the case. And of course these are using specific frequencies on specific cells, and this would have to go through many safety tests before it's allowed to be used widely, although they are using it in Europe for those where all those poor people with liver cancer where everything else has failed. So I delved into the paper itself, the e-biomedicine paper published by the Lancet, and here it is. It's very long, many pages, I think about 18 pages. But what I found was interesting is that indeed there are those have been mentioned. The lead researcher was indeed Boris Pash and a guy called Carl Blackman. But there were no less than 19 different authors quoted, and they came from very prestigious places. So we're talking about, apart from that Wake Forest Baptist Center, we have the University of Alabama, Division of Preventive Medicine. There are Toronto General Hospital, Johns Hopkins, very prestigious, and Lyon, University in Lyon, departments of gastroenterology, and departments of radiation oncology as well. So all of whom were happy with this paper, and actually, you know, as a clinician, you'd say, hey, this is good. This is an area that we should explore. Now, certain radio frequencies are already used at higher intensities and delivered through little needles to various parts of the body, actually to some liver cancer nodules that are in the liver, but also to various different parts of the body, including into the heart, where people with arrhythmias called atrial fibrillation can be treated through these ablation techniques. But they all use intensities that heat the body. That's how they're doing it. They're actually heating these areas, a bit like with microwave. So this is different. and I think very interesting. Obviously, this shows that there are a whole lot of researchers around the world who are actually very interested in these so-called low-level frequencies. And I stress that there's other research that shows that healthy cells, previous healthy cells, if you're not aware of the right frequencies, are affected. And the calcium channel, therefore how calcium gets into each of our cells, is affected by this. There's a buildup of calcium inside, there's a buildup of free radicals, oxidative stress, and in this case, obviously, cell death. So that's what's known so far. So that's all for the time being. Obviously, I'm going, the same day as I received this, by the way, I received a request to look at a article written by a skeptic, somebody who said that the only effects are heat effects from these rays, which will be there already there in our Wi-Fi, but also are being proposed in the 5G technology. And I'll go into that next time, how I answered him. I'll say a little bit about his article and how I posed this research to him and what happened. Thank you very much for listening and for following me on this, and please, I hope this somehow prompts us all to be active in this and really search for and research the issue, but also demand, I think we'd have to say demand, that adequate safety tests are done before the 5G rollout. The whole thing should be reassessed. All the best, bye.